Man, this comic book sucks! And the reviews online said it was good! I wasted my money! Why didn't somebody tell me?
Hey everybody, this is Spinner Rack. This is Petey right here, and we have
Calvin Ellis is here.
We have DC Universe Rebirth, the Superman number 28, Declaration. This is one of those books which you call a breather, where basically it's a memorial issue where Superman goes to, where they went to DC or something like that.
Yeah, they went to DC and they saw the sights.
And then they just have it's a cool run through of stuff. Well, Superman flies them out. Like the story's called Independence Day, and Superman flies them out with the birds right next to them. The birds don't have any problem while they're flying with them, but they fly out. They're down at the Capitol.
Yeah, way to be inconspicuous.
So they're walking around seeing all the sights. They're reading the stuff off of all the monuments and whatnot, and this big splash page. And
very nice splash page.
And Lois Lane talks about, a family member. For some reason, Jonathan Kent has a power of seeing ghosts. He can see past events. He's like, it's almost as if I can see the fighting going on right now. It's like,
I don't know if that was him or he was just imagining it. So, because you have the same situation when they're walking past, there's a large splash where it's a mural, and I couldn't tell if that was like them. It was an actual image on the flag, or if they were just imagining that particular thing. So I don't know how you can take that as you take it, I suppose.
And then they run into this family. I'm not sure which park they're. Not clear which park they're. I mean, Superman flew, so he could be. It doesn't matter how far he flew. So this is fine that they found the park and they find the family, and they're celebrating. Also, there's not just celebrating the Independence Day. They're celebrating the passing of a family member, which guy was born and died on the 4th of July. That's a little too much, but they have it under this memorial. It's fine, and they talk a bit. They talk a bit with them. They go through the history of this guy and how he passes, and it's touching. And then Superman has this moment. He's like, you know what? And then Lois is like, hey, why did this take you so long? And he does something for the family, and I guess this part is the most controversial for most people to say. Does this make sense for Superman to do? In fact, because I read the controversy on was it Bleeding Cool, and in reading it, it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was. I don't necessarily like breather issues too much because you don't, it's a day in the life, but you need to have something. Sometimes you need more oomph, or there's a ton of crazy stuff happening. Like, I guess you could say, the lack of a better term, the X-Men used to always do it all the time, but the X-Men would have the Dark Phoenix saga, and then they'd have a quiet issue. Like, I'm not sure if the Rebirth really needs a quiet issue, because there's a lot of family stuff in Superman. From what I've seen, I don't know what happened before, but it could have been Superman saving the Earth from ultimate destruction, and then they had this quiet issue. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then they're back on the road, and what's the next issue? Parallax. So what do you got for this one?
I was looking... you hit me to the controversy about it, so I said, let me read what this guy has to say. And it's all politically charged on his bent. He just didn't like... it's like you have to have a binary choice when it comes to, I suppose, politics, the military... And because they're going here and they're relating the history, and you're leaving out all this other stuff. You're not talking about slavery. You're not talking about this. Well, that's not what the story is about. Then they want to, there'll come some other stuff. Oh, the military this. Oh, that's not free speech, and that's not this. And they spend so much time bogged down with their myopic political view of the way things are supposed to be, that they're not looking at the story. This, stories, they come here, they're trying to give John some education as to what's going on. It's very middle of the road at the end of the day. And it's very hard to be middle of the road when you start engaging stuff like slavery. There's no middle of the road there. Unless, of course, you're those guys from Game of Thrones who want to do Confederate. But that's a different story. So, they keep going on. And, of course, he gets to do the Superman thing where, we've never found this guy's body. And, you know, he's able to go find the body, return the bones, and they just start hacking at everything. Who leaves a body of bones there? They should have had a parade. They should have had this, and they should have had that. It's like, no, dude, that's not the story. Okay, it's not like he took the bones and just scattered it or something. You know, why wrap the bones in the flag? Then it becomes this hypercritical, sophomoric criticism of what the story was. It was actually better than I thought. It's very touching, you know, at the end of the day. And it is definitely a Superman story. Now, the bigger criticism I have with it is that it's filler. And on one hand, I can give them a pass because they've told over 2 years worth of stories in less than a year. That's how fast that these guys have been going with Rebirth. So on that case, you're like, okay, fine, but it's still filler. And we look at this, and I'm getting Action Comics. There's been a lot of filler and not enough plot movement here. People will take this one as an issue of character development for Superman, but this isn't anything out of character, you know, for Superman. There's no further development. This is something that Superman would do. So it's just maybe it's not, I don't think a lot of time people confuse what's character development. You didn't build on anything here. This is more a reminder or just, you know, showing what this dude is capable of and his character. So that's what just makes it filler. There's something to pass through. That and the whole Swiss Family Robinson thing, they're going to have to find some way to mitigate that, because in every book he appears in, Superman is with his family. He's with Lois and John everywhere he goes. And after a certain amount of time, that is going to start to rub the wrong way. You have to have him independent. Stuff like this is okay, and stuff like this can be very treasured if you have that separation in the other stories. But Action Comics, Justice League, Trinity, Superman, they're with him every single step of the way. So I understand that they're trying to, you know, reinforce this is where we are with Superman, and this is the status quo for Superman, and definitely build on it. But do like they used to do when they had the 4 or 5 books. Some books dealt with certain types of stories, like Action Comics would be set in Metropolis, Superman would be, you know, international, and then anything else could be like in a different universe, and do those sorts of things. Because that is one thing that after a while is just becoming a sore thumb, like when he's flying the camper, and I'm like, I thought you were trying to keep a low profile, that the fact that you have a family. They're going to say, hey, Superman, what you doing flying this camper over here? You're attracting attention to yourself. So they're going to have to find some way to do this. And I know it's going to be tough, because people are going to say, hey, well, where's his wife? And, you know, where's his kid? You know, because of course your wife and kid are supposed to be with you wherever you go. And no, that's just not the way that it works. But other than that, you know, it's filler, but I can't say wasn't any less enjoyable than any other filler book that I've read, which is probably damning with faint praise. But very little to be had in terms of controversy here. It's just more, hey, those are your politics, and you just don't have a big enough mind to see past it.
Well, I think if you're gonna do the quiet moments, you definitely have to do more with Lois, because this is her. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think they should figure out a way to do more Lois stuff instead of another, you know. I think, yeah, because for me, so far the ones I've read, I think we've reviewed a few, possibly 4. You know, she's there, but it's always I knew the family was going to start wearing on you. It wasn't going to work out.
I said, look, the son part was what we were discussing, and then it's how you do it. And if they're going to be there, I mean, it would be no different. If he fights Lex Luthor every single issue, that's going to wear on you. There has to be some balance. You have to be able to do it with some balance. Other than that, it's the same type of criticism you're going to get with his parents.
I'm sorry I have to use your arguments against you. You use what you say about, was it Armageddon, Born Again? Like you say, once you do something that's affecting people can't get out of writing the family, and now every time you do a Superman story, they have to throw in the family. Because before they were married, and Lois wasn't involved in everything, and now
you don't have to do
they
that.
have a kid and they keep doing it, though.
You don't have to do that now. You can't say that once you have a family, this is the route to go with it. If you give the guy a family, look, anybody who has a family realizes you don't see these people all day long everywhere that you go. There are places you see them and there are places you don't. And then there's situations where literally it's like a life and death situation, and John and Lois are there. It's like, they're going to end up dead. You keep doing this. She's supposed to be a reporter. She's never at work. He's never at school. Do what they used to do. Do what they used to do in a Bronze Age issue. We would get some Superman. You could get some subplot with Lois Lane and John, and then you have the sequences where they come together. But I already know you were never on board with the whole family, so you're just chuckling to yourself about the whole
There's
thing.
56 issues of this thing, almost 60 issues of this, and the stuff you said. So the aspect of what I'm saying about the family is it's saying to the people when I write the story, because it didn't say it with the marriage. The marriage was like, he comes home. That sometimes it would involve Lois too much and she'd be kidnapped or something like that. But that was not as much as this place. They're like, it's Superman, it's a super family. We need to keep doing the super family. And these guys, it's someone who was it Dan Jurgens is one of the guys who did the marriage.
And he did it well.
So it's like, it shouldn't be a situation where they keep falling on it as a company.
Well, that was the same thing it was the same point you made, and you pointed out, was like, right after the death of Superman, they had him with the long hair, and I was like, they should have probably cut his hair after maybe 6 months or a year, but they honestly believed that they had it. This was it. This is like a new look for Superman, and they were on the right direction, and the next thing you know, he's got long hair and a ponytail for 5 years. Because, they were on that train, okay, this is working, and we're just going to keep, rolling this train. But they didn't really look to build too much on everything. And eventually, when they turned over their reign, the biggest thing that they could come to grips was that, hey, look, they had done the death of Superman. And then, of course, they did the new, a lot of the stuff was rehashes of what they had done. Okay, more powers, let's split them in two, and, these sorts of things. And we had the death of Superman, now let's have the death of Clark Kent. And that's the path that they're going on right over here. If they thought it would work, hell with Lois, okay, you have a son, let's give him a girl too. That way, we can equalize this whole thing. That's the issue that I have right now. It's not the family, it's how they're being implemented, how they're being used. But hey, I can only make the comment. These guys are the ones who are writing it, but you would think they would just learn from their own history. If the family thing is working, don't, do what they're doing with that whole Watchmen thing with DC right now. Tease it out, give just enough so it doesn't get stale and people don't get surfeited with it. But literally, it's almost like some mandate. Hey, everybody loves the family. Let's put them every day, and then they're going to get sick of them.
Well, they just got to bring the family into the Batcave.
Yeah, they did that already.
So it's over. There's nothing you can do now. It's officially a bad idea. I knew it, and that's that. And Spinner Rack out. There's nothing you can do when you bring them to the Batcave.
That they already have, and there's no reason for it because you already have John palling around with Damian Wayne in Super Sons. So if you like John, there's plenty of stuff where you can do things with him right there. But a lot of this, like I said, a lot of this has been padding because DC has some master plan they're supposed to unleash with this Doomsday Clock, and then with 2018, which would be Superman's 80th anniversary and the 1000th issue of Action Comics. So I will be patient and wait to see what happens. But I would just hate for people to, after a while, the hell with it, because it's a good idea. It was viable. It does work. But, less is more at the end of the day right now. Less is more. You're doing all of this stuff, and you guys still have the same type of issues with Superman that you did before, where you haven't done anything dynamic with him. I said you gave him a family, which is good. Okay, I think that's the step in the right direction. Don't run away from it. But there's no dynamism that he's getting out of it, and it can't be. Oh no, my family's in trouble. Now watch me do some stuff. No, don't cuck the dude. Just put him in situations where he gets to be Superman and work the whole thing.
Spinner Rack out.
Thanks, Spinner Rack. You save me money.